Ade Bashorun is the last surviving member of the West African Rhythm Brothers. The son of an African prince, he had fled Nigeria in 1946 to escape his parents' anger at becoming a musician.
My parents tried everything they could. They sent me to school, qualified in school. I left school in 1934. From that moment, I started playing. That's why I come to say, well, I'm going to settle in England to be able to do everything we want to do. We are the only musician that recorded in those days. There wasn't High Life, and there wasn't Lord Kitchener, Lord Beginner, and everything. Out of all the Calypso, there wasn't any in London here. All you can see is Edmond Ross play once. Yes, he played. We are the only one that's playing African music.
The Festival of Britain in 1951 gave people in this country their first opportunity to witness black music from around the world for themselves. Trinidad's veteran calypsonian Roaring Lion travelled over to sing with the Trinidad All-Steel Percussion Orchestra and went down a storm.
I sang at a place called the South Bank. I think there is where the shows took place. After singing there, well, I concentrated mostly on going around singing. Then I landed a job in 2 clubs. I had what they call Dublin. I had to sing up to a certain hour in one club. That would be the Caribbean club, and then from a next hour in the night in another club, Regent Street, that they call Regent Hall, or Adelaide's Hall rather, or Calypso Club. Oh, lots of different songs I sang there. For instance, let me see if I can give you an idea. If you want to be happy and live a king's life, never make a pretty woman your wife. If you want to be happy, live a king's life, never make a pretty woman your wife. All you've got to do is just as I say, and then you would be jolly, merry, and gay. That's from a logical point of view. Always love a woman uglier than you.
I'm warning men, be wise in choosing your girlfriend. Take my advice. There is a lot to lose, for much depends on the one you choose. You like happiness, comfort in life, unity and a peace-loving wife, but that can only be if you observe my philosophy. So if you want to be happy and live a king's life, never make a pretty woman your wife. If you want to be happy and live a king's life, never make a pretty woman your wife. All you've got to do is just as I say, then you would be jolly, merry and gay. That's from a logical point of view. To always love a woman uglier than you. Therefore, from a logical point of view, always love a woman uglier than you.
The Calypsonians who settled in Britain for a time, like Lord Kitchener, Lord Beginner and Roaring Lion, made it their business to comment on the strange goings-on they found here. Kitchener and Beginner recorded several classic tracks for British producer and black music aficionado Dennis Preston, who had snapped them up to record for him as soon as they got off the boat. There was Underground Train, Kitchener's account of his first experience on the London Tube, and General Election, Beginner's comment on the British election of 1960.
General election we had in Great Britain caused a sensation, independent, also liberal. It was essential, socialist was glad, communist was sad, conservatives did cheer at the result in Trafalgar Square. But I was confused, waiting to get the news. Me and Dorothy in the rain and the cold life in Piccadilly.
The Calypso tradition, whether serious or satirical, has always ranged over subjects from sex to politics and back again. And the Calypsonian talent for the off-the-cuff songs about the political scandals of the day made the style irresistible to broadcasters looking to liven up their current affairs programmes. Suddenly, so-called Calypso was everywhere, with even the comic Lance Percival jumping on the bandwagon. Actor Cy Grant had the job of performing a regular topical Calypso on the TV programme Tonight.
I used to sing in a kind of a very debutante type of nightclub, a wonderful place called Esmeralda's Barn in Knightsbridge. And one day I was approached by Cynthia Judah, who married Robert Key, and they were planning Tonight. And then she came and said, "Do you think you can sing the news in Calypso?" I said, "I'll have a go." But, you know, then I realized that they wanted me to do it every night, and I said, "Look, this is ridiculous." But because of the pressure of even trying to keep up with the news and write them to sing every single night, they brought Ronald Levin of all people to write the Calypso. And that made it easy.
The market strike is over today. Mr. Frank Cousins has had his way, but he ran into lots of hostility from some of the men who didn't agree. In fact, they had considerable fun and games and called him several unprintable names. I'm surprised they didn't throw tomatoes about. Lots have got rotten since they came out. We're bringing you the news you ought to know with tonight's topical Calypso.
Britain was becoming known as the centre for popular music like Calypso and highlife, but it also produced some of the most progressive modern jazz of the period. The Joe Harriott Quartet, featuring trumpeter Shake Keane, pioneered free-form improvising jazz ahead of the more famous innovations of Ornette Coleman and John Coltrane in the US. Coleridge Good came over from the West Indies to study engineering, but ended up playing stand-up bass with Joe.
About 52, 53, the theatre group was doing a concert in the St. Pancras Town Hall. There was a band which came from the West Indies who were playing the sort of interval music. And in this band was this wonderful alto saxophone player. We'd never heard of him before, and made us think of Charlie Parker and, you know, people of that. He was very, very good. It turned out that this was Joe Harriott.
The quartet started out playing in a fairly orthodox style until 1958, when Joe was laid up in hospital. While he was ill, he developed the idea of a jazz group playing together in collective improvisation rather than doing solos one by one. This was a revolutionary step within the jazz world and came to be known as free jazz.
Oh yeah, yes, it was exciting. It was so completely new, and we really were forced to listen to each other. You see, we developed this free music not as just a free something for a solo player to go out there and do his stuff and then somebody else would, but more as a collective playing free, so that we would throw ideas to each other in the group.
Meanwhile, Jamaican immigrants were still coming over to Britain, bringing with them the latest music sensation from the island, ska. Laurel Aitken was one of the first ska singers to record in Britain. His career took off in Jamaica when he hooked up with a young record company entrepreneur called Chris Blackwell.
The first time I entered a contest, I sang Pennies from Heaven. Every time it rained, pennies. I mashed on the place tonight. I couldn't believe it. The place stood up, and from Pennies from Heaven, I started getting real popular. Then Chris Blackwell from Island Records, he came to see me, and we did Little Sheila and Boogie in My Bones, which Little Sheila and Boogie in My Bones is the very first West Indian record to hit the chart #1 in Jamaica, because it was all American stuff in the chart. And when Little Sheila was released in 1959, it was 11 weeks #1. 11 weeks #1. Chris will tell you this.
Well, it feels so good. I've got the
Aitken, of course, had the big hit of the early days in Jamaica, Boogie in My Bones. Then he spent his time working over here, and he became a real pioneer, in fact, in what you might call Jamaican music in England.
Steve Barrow, reggae journalist.
He would go around and he'd do shows, and he'd make deals with all kinds of small record labels and take money and do more shows and make records. And he did that, and he still does it. He's done that now for, 30 years. He's gone completely unnoticed. Yet Laurel Aitken is one of the great singers of modern times, in my opinion. I mean, he's been doing it for 30 years. He was born to sing, as Derrick Morgan says, because he hasn't stopped. If you stop, you weren't born to sing. And it's as simple as that. It's that strength of that belief that's kept Laurel going. Laurel Aitken really has got the boogie in his bones, because he's not stopped, doing the boogie ever since.
In Britain, Melodisc quickly set up a new label to cater to the new ska sound, Bluebeat. Ziggy Jackson.
Of course, I got a lot of samples sent from all over the place, etc., etc. And amongst these samples, one day I received a little parcel of 3 records from Jamaica. So I listened to these records, and this has a totally different sound. It was something totally different. It was described in the letter as Jamaican blues. So I thought, well, I couldn't really release it on the Melodisc thing, because we didn't do that type of music on our label. So I thought a new label would be just right. So I thought, well, bluesy, yes, blues. It had a terrific beat. So I called it Bluebeat. So that's how Bluebeat was born. And I released the first records. One was with Laurel Aitken, Heavenly Angel. And overnight it became a smash amongst the West Indians here. Gregarious sort of guy, outgoing and great, loved everything, and he was a great stage performer. I saw it right away because he was performing when he was recording. I had to call on many occasions, look, Laurel, please stand still at the mic, you see, because he was bobbing and weaving and all sorts of things, you see.
Emil Shalott was the rather larger-than-life boss of Melodisc and the man behind much of the black music scene in Britain at the time.
Shalott was one of these men. He was always scruffy, well, real untidy. And he used to carry a whole heap of money in his pockets, all his pockets bulging out. And when the records started coming from Jamaica, the ska, what they call it, he came to me with his finger like this and said, I like this music very much, but I want to give it a name, a different name from ska. And he just did like this, and I was looking at him. He said, what about Bluebeat? I said, yes, that sounds good.
It was all right to deal with, yes. Always smiling and with his cigar and so on. I always wonder if Charlotte used to wear one brown suit right through all the 6 months I was with him. I said that the man used to have a lot of brown suit, Charlotte, as a rich man, he was really crummy. He don't pay up big, just, I don't know, alone Prince Buster make money on that, man. I don't know if anybody else would do.
Al Capone guns don't argue.
Emil Shalott was a man who came from Central Europe somewhere after the war, as I understood it. He was a man who was very ill, and he needed an attendant. And he had this attendant who was a tall guy, very tall. And Emil Shellitt was a small, portly sort of man who always seemed annoyed. On the 2 times I met him, he was annoyed both times. Maybe he didn't like me. He was a guy who started a record label almost by accident, it seems to me. You know, he saw there was an opportunity, perhaps, and he moved in there because no one else was doing it. In that sense, I think he resembles a kind of the stories you read about the companies who brought rhythm and blues. You know, maybe they liked music in the beginning and they just thought nobody's covering this and we'll do a bit of this. And out of this comes these fantastic catalogues, you know, run by guys mostly from Europe who have gone to America. You know, immigrant guys in that sense.
Don't call me Scarface. My name is Confound. C-A-P-O-N-E. Confound.
Many of the ska records that came out on small labels were distributed through market stores and specialist shops, like George Pecking's in Shepherd's Bush and Rita and Benny's in Stamford Hill. Hundreds of thousands of copies could be sold without ever reaching the pop charts. The records were promoted by sound systems like Duke Vins, who set up at blues dances and shebeens around the city. Laurel Aitken.
No, you didn't get television spot in those days. You promote a record by the blues dance. In those days, they used to have this blues dance, and it used to be kept under a cellar, because you couldn't get a hall to rent in those days neither, and they used to sell drinks down there illegally. That was the only place that we could actually get together. You get what I mean? Even when I never used to be a blues dance follower, because it wasn't so right. In those days, blues dance days, was when my records was one of the most famous records during those days. And I never used to like to be standing there listening to my own records. So I always keep away. You get what I mean? I used to have a song called Fire in My Wire. And they would play that 7 times a night. Yeah, I went one night and I heard Fire in My Wire 7 times. Say, I better leave this place there. But I went to another place in Brixton, and it was Fire in My Wire again. I said, my God, what's this? So I said, I had enough of it now.
As the British market for ska grew, UK labels started to record the music here, using their own studio backing bands. But it was often difficult to recreate the Jamaican studio sound.
The English records, although they're probably better technically recorded in terms of the studios that they were using, they don't have the creative vibes that the Jamaican records have got. When you listen to Scatterlights play and you listen to the Melodisc session band with people like Georgie Fame and all of those people, it doesn't sound the same. Although this doesn't make the records less effective when you judge them on their own terms. It, in fact, adds different qualities to that music, significantly so. You know, it's a music that's much more cut off and alienated, and it tries to compensate for that in other ways, by exaggeration. Someone who did get quite a good sound in English studios was Prince Buster, of course. When you make a record like Wash Wash, which was made, you know, in an English studio, and it sounds pretty Jamaican.
sign-up to Blue Beat Records was Derrick Morgan, a hugely popular Jamaican singer who'd been tipped off by Prince Buster about the growing ska scene in Britain.
Well, I thought Britain, when the first time I came here, I thought it was pure factories here. Yeah. Because I want to tell you, this house that you're in is the first house I came, 1963. Oh, yeah. Right here. Yeah. And when I look across and see the chimneys and so on, and I know in Jamaica, anytime you see a place with chimney, that's a factory. So I was saying, read, is that pure factories in this place, you know? But away from that, the people were so nice. In the 60s, the only thing that ran me from England in 63 was the corn. I only spent 6 months. I didn't like what was going on, and I didn't like the corn at the time.
What didn't you like about what was going on?
Well, when I came here, I wasn't going to the studio as often as I used to in Jamaica, and I only made about 3 songs here in the 6 months I came, and those were backed by Georgia Flame at the time. But all those times, they never used to give me anything called royalties or anything. All I get is £10 when I sing.
Each time you went into...
Each time I go in the studio and make a song, I was paid £10. So that means I have to make a lot of songs to make a lot of £10.
Rudies don't fear, no, boys, Rudies don't fear. Rudies don't fear, no, boys, Rudies don't fear. Rougher than rough, tougher than tough, strong like lion, we are iron. Rudies are free, yeah, boys, Rudies are free. Rudies are free, yeah, boy, Rudies are free.
Some companies saw it as a license to make money, which they didn't really have to account for. As support of that, I can cite the fact that, you know, speaking as an archivist, I see no surviving 60s royalty statements, you know, in museums, you know, or anything like that, or in people's wallets or anything. They just weren't issued. On the other hand, I also know of producers who got large sums of money by 60 standards for outright purchase of tunes.
Sharp practices and unfair deals in the music industry were just part of the new set of problems the West Indian musicians faced as they tried to establish themselves in British society.
Oh yeah, well, I've been to pubs in those days and they wouldn't sell me drinks, you get what I mean? Well, I am a man from Jamaica. I like to have a very shiny shoe. My shoes got to be shine. And I knew a man, a white man, that used to look at my shoe. And when he looked at my shoe, he looked straight in my eyes. Like he would say, what is he wearing such a lovely shoes? You know, because my shoes, I wear, up to now I wear some wicked shine shoes anyhow.
I've seen your wicked shine shoes.